My man, Sterling McIlravy, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Cody. Happy to be here.
So this one I've been really looking forward to, and we talked about this before the show. I actually know you pretty well. My other
Mhm.
guests, I've kind of just now having the first conversation with them when they jump onto the podcast. But
Yeah.
we've known each other for almost 2 years now. So this is going to be fun for me. It's going to be a little testy for me as a host because I'm going to ask you questions about you that I already know the answer, but I'm going
Yep.
to play a little silly. So for those of you that are listening, Sterling and I have been working together for a couple of years, so I know him pretty well. And I know a lot of these questions, but I'm just going to stand in and let him talk about himself. And I'm going to act like I don't know as much as I do. So, Sterling,
Yeah.
I'd love for you to just tell the audience who you are, how you got to be where you're at, and, just all the fun stuff about you.
Yeah. So we'll kind of go brief history, or just kind of a short bio. So I'm 25 years old. I live in Iowa. Married, have a 17-month-old son right now. But yeah, so growing up, I did all sorts of sports. Honestly, I don't think there's a sport I didn't play growing up, so that was a ton of fun. Once I got into high school, though, I picked the ones I liked better, right? So I played basketball and I played golf. And those were the two that I liked. I didn't really start playing golf until I was about 12 or 13. So I picked it up a little bit later. And then once I turned 16 and was able to drive, really fell in love with the game, the process of getting better and, all things that come with trying to improve at anything. So I'd say from the time of 16 up until when I graduated high school, um, I didn't really have a golf coach. I just kind of went out there and just, was an athlete and tried to get better in the ways that I thought would make sense. And some of that was right. Most of it was probably not right, but, it made me kind of who I am and got me to where I was at. So after high school, I played junior college golf at a school in Esterville, Iowa. It's called Iowa Lakes Community College. Um, and I went there, honestly, I had no other options basically. So I left high school averaging an 80. So not very good, not terrible, but not great. So I just took the only opportunity I could get, went there, played well, won once in the fall. I was in the top three for freshmen in our region. And then after that year, I transferred out, transferred closer to home to another junior college, Kirkwood Community College, where I played I redshirted my sophomore year, had to get an ankle surgery, and then played the next fall, so 2019 to 2020. Won twice in the fall, and then our team, we were playing really well. We were ranked number one in the country, and then COVID canceled the national championship in the spring. So,
Mm.
there's tons of athletes that had to deal with that. So that was a unfortunate situation there. But super grateful for both the junior colleges I got to play at. Learned a lot at both. Definitely were needed steps for me to get to where I am now. But so after playing at Kirkwood, I was fortunate to get a walk-on spot at Ball State University in Indiana. Mike Fleck there was extremely, I would say, generous. I don't think he had a junior college kid before, and just he let me walk on, which was big, and just treated me like everybody else on the team, which was a big deal too, right? Because there's guys that have scholarships, and um, he just kind of when we qualified, it was who's better, who's got the better average. So that can be kind of tough to find. So I played a year at Ball State, and then after the year at Ball State, I turned pro in the fall of 2021.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And I've got so many questions I can ask about that. So thank you for, opening up, telling us a little bit about yourself. I just
yeah,
remember, you use the word athlete a lot. And I think that's where you and I really aligned and kind of hit it off when we first met is we
yeah,
truly believe that, golfers are athletes. And, you just said it a handful of times in there, athlete. Um, and I remember when you first came in, that's what I thought too. I was like, this man is an athlete. You just had I could just tell it's talent that you had for a long time. The way you move, your explosiveness, like that stuff cannot be taught. Like you've probably just had that your whole life. So, growing up, tell me more about what other sports you played and, how you were good at them. Because I just remember, and you said you self-taught yourself golf just because you just understand this is how an athlete moves. This is
yeah.
how we hit the ball. This is what I need to get done. Like, kind of explain like that whole process of how you got into that and what other sports you played and how it made
Okay.
you the golfer you are.
Yeah, so I'd say probably the most prevalent sport, and I even do it a little bit now still. My whole family, we do a lot of motocross, a lot of dirt bikes, stuff like that. So really good for balance, coordination, core strength, all that. So that was really probably the first thing I ever did. My parents had pictures of me on a dirt bike and diapers type of deal, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
so there was that, and then as went through growing up, did all the sports like soccer, baseball. I did football in middle school, basketball in high school, but from the time I was 18 months until seventh grade. So at 18 months old, my mom, she would take my older brother and I, and we would go and do like mommy and me gymnastics classes. And gymnastics ended up being something we stuck with, or maybe it was still sixth grade, I think up until my sixth grade year. Um, and I do believe that was extremely big in terms of learning how to use your body and
Mm-hmm.
balance and control through space. And um, yeah, it was something that it was a ton of fun to do. Um, at the time, I didn't necessarily know that I was any good at it, but I found a box of my medals and stuff, and I won state a handful of times. And so I was
Oh,
like,
really?
oh, man, I guess I was decent at this. But, when you're young, it's just fun, right? You go and practice and work out with your buddies, and you go to competitions, and you don't necessarily know what you're competing for at that age.
Well, and you're kind of gymnastics is one of those things where you're just kind of having fun, right? You kind of just see what you can do. You kind of just come up with stuff, right? Like you do this type of flip or handsprings or stuff like that, right? You
Yep.
kind of just mess around and see what's see what you're capable of, right?
Yeah, for sure. And then, once you get to, let's see, it was probably the last couple years of, I mean, so every level you're at has routines that you have to do for competition, right? So that's a
Hmm.
prescribed thing. You have to do this, that, and the other. And it's been a long time since I did gymnastics, so that's a long time. But yeah, a lot of the time you're messing around like, oh, can I do a double backflip? Can I do a backflip with a full twist? And if you can, then it's like, okay, now I can implement that extra point move into a routine. So yeah. I mean,
But
that's a lot of it though, especially when you're young. It's like, it's very safe and coaches are there making sure you're not doing anything dumb. But a lot of the time, yeah, you just get to have a ton of fun.
and that that is something I didn't know about you actually. I didn't know about the gymnastics thing.
Yeah.
So that's so cool because I think that is a great carryover to golf, right? It's like, hey, can we do this really explosive thing? Can I make this happen? It's just,
Mm-hmm.
just learning all these skills. And I think that's something that has been talked about um, now as kids really start honing in on golf much earlier. And like that is their only focus. And they've
Right.
talked about that's actually a detriment to their ability to develop more skills, right? Like doing things
Mm-hmm.
like gymnastics. I mean, dirt bikes, like that's pretty cool too. I mean, if you think about the core strength and the grip strength and then just the reactions you have to come up with on a dirt bike, I mean, all
Yeah.
those things carry over into the sports you're going to really hone in on as you grow up.
Yeah. Exactly. And I will say, like, that's one thing that I'm extremely grateful to my parents for. Um, so my dad was a really great wrestler. He was three-time All-American at Iowa, Olympic bronze medalist. And growing up, everybody was like, "Oh, are you gonna wrestle? Are you gonna do that?" I mean, no, I didn't. I didn't like it. My older brother didn't love it, and then none of my siblings really liked it. And I think it was it was really really big, and extremely thankful to my dad and my mom both for not forcing us into any sport that we didn't want to do. Now wrestling would have been one that would have been easy for them to get us into because they knew a lot about it.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I think in terms of development, right, like let the kids, whether it's organized sports or not, just let them do as much as they want to do,
Right.
and just be active. And um, yeah, because it all builds into, and then if you do eventually specialize in a sport, there's a ton of stuff that you can't teach if you haven't played other sports. So yeah, I
Hmm.
think being a multi-sport athlete is a huge benefit.
Absolutely. I mean, your dad, like you said, was a bronze medalist in the Olympics. Like that
Yeah.
is huge. I mean, so growing up, was it not fun to wrestle with him, or did he know how to take it easy on the kids? Or like once you guys got a little older, he was like, "No, Dad, dad's gonna put you down when.
Yeah. So he would always wrestle with us, and it was a ton of fun. So a lot of good memories of that. He would always take it easy on us, right up until I would say like I think my older brother Streeter. He was maybe a sophomore or a junior in high school, and we would still kind of wrestle dad a little bit up until that point. And Streeter ended up taking dad down, and like within half a second, my dad was back on top, had him in some formal hold that is not comfortable whatsoever. And so when I watched that, I was like, okay, no matter how strong I get, I'm just not gonna mess with that. That's yeah, that's not a realm I want to get into.
See, I wonder if that has a thing to play into. It's like dad was already so good at this, and I can get, it's like Tiger and Charlie. Like Charlie is obviously like in his
Hmm.
father's footsteps or something like that. But I wonder if like as a kid, if it's maybe try something different because I'm probably never gonna beat dad at this. Let me pick something that I might beat dad at. I'm not saying like that was you, but maybe that
Yeah.
could be a thing.
Well, so honestly, that was partially why golf became something I loved. And I talk about my older brother a lot, but he's 18 months older than me. We did everything together growing up. We were homeschooled, so everything that we did, I mean, like even to this day, is still my best friend type of deal.
Yeah.
And he was and is just an exceptional athlete. I think it was as an eighth grader, he high jumped 6'2". I mean, and he's 6'1"
Wow.
type of deal. So he's very, very athletic. Everything he did, he excelled at. Worked very hard too. But he naturally is just an exceptional athlete and someone that I always had to chase because my athleticism was nowhere near that at all.
Seriously.
Yeah, yeah. I was honestly so sixth grade when gymnastics ended. Up until like my sophomore year of high school, I really was not that good of an athlete. I mean, like I was decent, but um, like up until sophomore year, like I couldn't touch the rim of the basketball hoop. By my junior year, I was two hand dunking.
And how
So
tall are you?
I'm 5'11".
Yeah, see, you're not the tallest guy I've ever seen. Like, so I mean, you're
No,
two-hand dunking. And
yeah,
that's, I mean, yeah, like when you came down to Jupiter, Florida when I was working there, and just like instantly, like I had you do like one thing, and it was very apparent you
yeah,
had skills.
yeah. So kind of back to what I was getting at. My older brother being as good as he is at everything. When we played golf the first time, I beat him.
Mm.
And so to me, that's like, I can do something better than my older brother. This is
Hmm.
fun, right? Or I mean, we would compete and it was a fair fight. All the
Yeah.
other stuff was not a fair fight, it just wasn't comparable. So that was fun and encouraging to me. So I do think there is an aspect to that where, whether it's, your dad was really good at something, you want to try something different, or you have a sibling in the family who's really good at something else. And it's nice to have your own thing, be your own person. And um, I think that was kind of the initial reason why I loved it.
Hmm. I mean, have you watched Full Swing on Netflix yet?
I watched the first season. I haven't watched the second one yet.
Okay, so in the second one, there's they have an episode about Matt and Alex Fitzpatrick,
Okay.
and that was really Alex's thing was I'm trying to step out of my brother's shadow, and
Yeah.
at the British Open he finally did and qualified on his own
Yep.
and beat and uh, you know ended better than Matt. So
Yeah.
definitely it's definitely something to to be said there.
Yeah, for sure. For
All
sure.
right, so we kind of talked a little bit about what's like being a junior. So one of our things like we both kind of advice for juniors was play other sports so you can develop more skills. But what other advice would you have for someone that wants to be in your position in a few years, if they're a junior, I don't know, high
Okay.
school, before that, whatever, what would you say to them?
I mean, as much as you possibly can, do other sports for sure. But then I would recommend, don't be afraid to get in the weight room and lift and get strong. Um, and there's kind of something, and I had it a little bit too growing up where um, you think you can maybe be a little bit scary to put weight on a bar, right? Oh, I'm going to get hurt. Well, if you do it wrong, you probably will. But it's extremely important to be strong and have, the muscles in the body needed for the workload that golf is. Um, so that's like number one, right? Because you can practice as hard as you want, but if you're always getting hurt from over swinging, you're not gonna make it anywhere. Number two, prioritize your short game. You can't be good enough at that. You just have a ton of fun with short game, right? Like there should be certain aspects of practice that are kind of detailed and more specific. But especially if you're younger than high school, really just have fun when you're practicing. Don't make it too serious. You have the rest of your life to be serious, and as you get older, things get more serious anyways. So
Hmm.
just be and just enjoy the joy of the game, I would say is big.
I could tell that with you because when you were here in Oklahoma doing, was it the second round at Q School?
Yeah.
And I got to come out there, and my wife and I were walking around with you, and even you were still, you're in the grind mode, right? Like you were trying hard to play your best, and you even like made a little joke. You were hitting out of the rough, and you're like, "Hey, can we do some exercise like after you hit it out of the rough?" Like even like that was a bit, that's a big tournament for you, and you were still, not taking it too seriously. You turned around and, like made a joke with me, so that's definitely some
Yeah.
good advice.
Yeah, I think it's really easy for people to think they are, try to be more serious than they are and treat things bigger than they actually are, right? Um, I mean, a golf tournament, it was Q school. Obviously, want to play well, but if you go into a big event and you try to be someone you aren't, you're gonna just lead yourself to more disaster. So, always trying to be true to yourself, genuine to what your personality is, right? Like,
Hmm.
I'm a pretty light and easy guy. When I compete, I'm a little bit more serious, but even still, not, I'm not like a hyper focused tiger mentality kind of guy.
I don't think anyone is. I'm sure. So before we got a couple questions I want to ask you about some things you said. I heard something
Yep.
really cool this morning. So I only train one person physically in person, and you're one of the select few that I actually do one-on-one programming with.
Okay.
But he brought up this thing that his daughter is doing. She's 6 years old, I believe, 6 or 7. She's young,
Okay.
and at their club, they're calling it, what they call it, something 36,
Operation
and
36.
Operation 30. You heard of this?
Yeah.
Obviously, it is so cool. He said so they're starting them at 25 yards. It's
Yep.
9 holes, 25 yards, 4 shots. So it's 36. 9 times 4, 36.
Yep.
Um, and then once they break that at 25 yards, they move them back to 50, and so on and so forth. And I was like, that is the coolest way to get kids into golf, and probably the best way. We don't want to just start cranking away on the driver, right? We was it Harvey Pinnock that said work from the hole back or something like that. So
Yeah, it was someone like that. Yeah, and I definitely didn't. I didn't do that. I
right,
grabbed my driver and tried to hit it as far as I could
me
because
too.
that's what's fun, right?
Yeah.
No, Operation 36 is awesome. I think if you have a junior that's showing some interest in playing golf, Operation 36 is an awesome way to get him into it because it teaches them the game, teaches them how to score, and from what I've heard, I've never been around it, but from what I've heard, it's like it's fun. There's a bunch of other juniors doing the same thing. Nobody takes it too serious, which I think is really big. Um,
Hmm.
as
Yeah.
7 to 12-year-old kids. I mean, they didn't. It doesn't need to be that serious.
And that's just a great way to learn the game, because it's also probably the most frustrating part of the game, because that's where you're scoring, right? Everyone wants to hit the ball far, but we got to get it in the hole at the end of the
Yeah,
day, right? So,
yeah,
um,
right.
another thing you were talking about was kind of the mental game. So do you do anything specific for your mental game? And I know like your course management is a kind of different topic, but I want to kind of hit on like the mental game when you're out there. We're all going to hit bad shots. We're all going to hit great shots. So kind of what's your process to handling the mental game out there?
Yeah, so I've started working with a sports psychologist named Rich Merrick. I started working with him in the fall of last year, and I would say like the biggest thing, and I get asked that not a ton, but often, like, what do you do when you hit a bad shot? And most of the work for accepting that shot, you have to do off the golf course in a controlled environment, right? So you like meditation in the morning and just being more mindful, right? So in times when things get tough, you revert back to what your dominant habit is. So if you hit a bad shot and you're bad at controlling your emotions in life, you're going to be bad at controlling your emotions on the golf course. Um, so it's a lot of training of just sitting in stillness, focusing on one thing. We're trying to focus on nothing. So that's more of like an in-depth way to look at that, right? In general, though, if you hit a bad shot, it's just not that big of a deal. There's I don't know how many people on the earth there are, but none of them care if I hit a good shot or not. So the only reason that I get upset is because of an expectation I've placed on myself, which is good. It's great to have expectations, but you also have to know that not every shot's going to be perfect. And throughout every round, maybe hit 5 perfect shots. If I play great that day, maybe
Hmm.
5.
Right.
So, yeah, I'd say just acceptance, right? Like, um, and just remembering that one bad shot doesn't determine a hole, and it definitely doesn't determine a round. You can hit 3 terrible shots, and you can be 50 yards from the green still, and you can make that 50-yard shot, and you made par.
Right.
So, probably just understanding that one shot is such a small deal, right?
Hmm.
It's not that important.
And especially for someone like you have a fantastic support system too. At the end of the day, you can always remember, hey, my family still loves me if I airmail this green and end up in the
Yep.
bunker or something like that. It's not, not the end of the world.
No, yeah, and I mean, my parents told me this growing up, and my wife says the same thing now, but they only care because I care. If I didn't care, it wouldn't bother them if I played well or not, right? So, yeah, they have no expectation of like, you need to do this, you need to do that, and it's always, they've never added pressure in any position, which again, I think is huge for development.
For sure. I mean, talk about full swing again. They did, and I'm like spoiling it for you, but
No, that's okay. I don't even know if I'll get to it for a while, honestly.
one of their episodes again was about the mental game, and they had Joel
Mm,
Damon and they had two guys kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. They had Joel Damon and Wyndham Clark, and
okay.
and then I watched the final round. Was it the final round? Maybe it was the third round at Bay Hill. And you can see Wyndham was talking
Hmm.
about how he's working with the coach, and he used to get really angry. And I remember watching him, last year when he had his great season, it was really paying off. Obviously,
Hmm.
U.S. Open champ, won the Wells Fargo. I think he won another one too. But he did great, and he got his emotions in control. And then you could tell how important this is because the third round at Bay Hill, he I think he had to lay up. He was in a little divot, kind of
Mm,
at the throat of the green in the fairway. So he's upset about that. He chunks the shot. Then he slams his club into the ground. And then I think the announcers kind of got upset about that, although they didn't
mm,
say it, because then later on, he did that fluff in his lie, and they kind of gave him a hard time about that. So,
yeah.
and he obviously didn't, perform super well at the end of that tournament. I really like Wyndham Clark. I'm not trying to talk poorly
Yeah.
of him, but you can just tell like that is obviously the importance of the mental game right there. And we kind of got to see it, and I think it's huge because even for someone like me, when I'm playing in my um, Saturday game, or I can't remember. I had my best round of the year, and my hedge. I just got so nervous. I was standing on the 16th tee. I've never shot at a good course. I've shot under par a couple times at some courses that where some of the par fours were like under 300 yards. So we're
Right.
little
Yep.
easy to do it on that course, but like my club where it's a pretty challenging course in my opinion, and I'm standing on the 16th tee, one under par, and then I choke it all away. And I think I shot 5 over on the last 3 holes.
Oh man.
Which is for someone like me that's like 4 or 5 handicap, like going double bogey, 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 whatever I did is not like out of the. It's not like when you do, not if you did it. It's like a little different. It's not crazy if I do it, but it was my
Yeah.
mental game. My tee shot, I barely hit the ball, and
Mm,
for I just got to work on that too. So I'm
yeah.
glad you kind of gave us some insight on that.
Yeah. And I would say like when it comes down to that situation, a lot of the practice I do is actually routine practice. Okay. So on the driving range, picture out a target and then try to place yourself as if you're in the US Open or you're on the 16th tee at one under par and you just want to finish at under par, right?
Right.
Put yourself in a situation that is exciting to you. Try to simulate that. And then go through your full process, your routine, your practice swings, and step up to the ball and execute the shot. 10 times in a row, 5 times in a row, 3 times in a row, whatever that number is. Um, because one of my favorite quotes, it's actually from I think the magazine's called Legal Heat. It was something my dad had a couple years ago for like concealed weapons.
Okay.
But the guy was talking about practice with your weapon, and he said people think that when they need to, they'll rise to the occasion and use their weapon properly and hit their targets. And he said when reality is you always, like in the highest pressure situations, you default to your training. So if you're not training to handle pressure and to go through your routine and let your routine calm you and then hit your target, you're not going to do that at the biggest stage when you need
Hmm.
to or want to most. So um, you can't necessarily expect a result that you haven't trained for.
Right. It's a very good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. So that's, yeah, one of my favorite quotes.
I love
Came
that.
from a came from a gun magazine.
Hey, hey, we're shooting. Hey, golf is shooting targets. So yeah,
It
it is
is.
what it
Yeah.
is.
Similar.
So you practice, right? So let's kind of talk about that a little bit. How do you like set up practice? Do you block practice? I think is popular now. How
Hmm.
often do you practice? Like, kind of tell us a little bit about that because we obviously know you play better golf when you practice. And I think this is, our podcast is probably a good amount of juniors that are going to listen, but definitely more guys like me that
Okay.
want to be better, that have aspirations to be a low handicap. I want to be scratched this year. So, what's practice like for you?
Okay. So practice for me is I have for every aspect of the game. There's short game, so chipping, pitching, uh, and then what I call like finesse wedge shots from 30 to 60 yards, and then distance wedges from 60 to 120, and then full swing outside of that. Right. So for every one of those pieces of the game, I have block drills that I try to do every day. And if it's not every day, it's every other day. So, and the purpose of block practice is to get in there, check your positions, and be done with it kind of as quickly as possible. So, with it being early season stuff right now, the amount of block practice that I have is a little bit higher. So, like on the range, my block practice is around 30 to 50 balls, depending on how things are going, right? If it's going good, it's 30. If I need a little bit more work, it's 50. And then after that, I get into um, working shot shapes. So two draws, two fades, two draws, two fades, going through with different clubs. Because I hit cuts everywhere. And so I'm trying to make it like the last thing you want to do is hit the same shot over and over and over to the point that your cut that used to be a 3 yard cut is now a 15-yard cut because all you've done is hit cuts all week.
Right.
Um, yeah, so I like to hit two cuts, two draws, get control of the club, change trajectories, all that type of stuff. Be creative, have fun with it, right? I'm 25. I still try to have as much fun when I practice as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so it's block practice, and then you get into randomized practice. And then at the end of the randomized practice, I'll grab a couple balls and do process practice where I'll run through my full routine, never hit the same club twice, pick different targets every time. Try to simulate, the randomized aspect of our game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's basically that way for every segment. So chipping and pitching, same thing. Got my block drills, do them. Then I get into hitting, 10 or 15 balls, alternate the target, alternate the shot trajectory, and that type of stuff. So yeah, block practice is supposed to be something that people you get into, you do it, check your positions, and then get out of it as quickly as possible.
Okay. I'm going to have to make a note of that myself.
Yeah. And there's different stages for everything. So if you're in the middle of a swing change, you're depends on how you want to go about it, right? If you want to get that swing change done as quick as possible, block practice probably takes up 50% of your practice time, right? But then you're going to have to know that your actual shot execution for a while probably going to be a little bit worse. But you might get through your swing change quicker doing that, so then you can get back into hitting shots quicker. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I like that. I'm going through a swing change myself, and I kind of hate working on it. It's so it's so uncomfortable because it's good. It's a pretty substantial swing change, and I kind of hate it, but I got to do it.
Yeah,
And so
right.
and unbeknownst to me, I've been doing the block drills because I do go out there, I practice it. I don't know. I'm not even hitting a ball right now. I'm just
Yeah,
swinging.
good.
And videoing it, sending it to my coach.
Yep.
So I probably do, and it's so uncomfortable that I have to take a break. I can't just sit there and rep out like 20 of them because it's so different. My body's adapting, and
Mm.
I kind of get a little tight
Oh
here,
yeah.
and so I've got to take breaks. So
Yeah.
um, because
Yeah.
it's just
No,
so
I
different than what it's kind of like, if you're doing any exercise that you've never done before, like I
mm-hmm.
can do bodyweight squats all day long. But
Right.
if it was a staggered stance squat or something, there's just something slightly different than what I normally do. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be it's going to wear me out a little bit. So kind
Yeah.
of the same thing. So I got to get in and out of it.
Yeah. Definitely. And really, if you're looking to change motor patterns in your golf swing, which it sounds like that's kind of what you're working on, right? Like,
Mhm.
I actually went through drastic motor pattern changing over this last winter. Stuff that needed to be done. Like I said, I honestly out athleted my way through golf for a long time. Um, so then working with you, I became a better athlete and got away with all my bad habits even longer. So thanks for
You're
that.
welcome. That's what we do here.
Yeah. Um, but anyways, yeah, changing motor patterns and stuff. I have a upstairs where I practice. There, I have my mat and I have a mirror behind my mat where it's full length body, full length mirror. And like when I'm working on motor patterns, I am stopping at each position, looking back in that mirror, making sure it's in the right spot, stopping again at the top, stopping on the way down, and just making sure that like when I'm doing the motor pattern drills, make sure you're getting them in the right spot because your body does remember things.
Mhm.
So you want it to remember the correct positions.
Right.
And a lot of times, like you said, that's easiest done when you're making big swing changes, like at home in your yard without a ball. Because hitting a golf ball, like there's this outcome, right? So when you hit the ball and it doesn't go good, it's like, oh, that would suck. That was terrible. Well, you may have actually hit every position in your swing you wanted to. Your body just isn't used to it, so the shot was bad. Um, so I think if you're really working on motor pattern stuff, it should be with a mirror or with a camera, probably away from the golf course. That way you take the outcomes out of it.
Mhm. Yep. I mean, that's where I'm at. I mean, um, one of the guys, famous guy, might have been like Lanny Watkins or something, said he wishes he would have taken more swings without the ball.
Mm,
Because the ball messed up his swing or something like that. So,
wow.
yeah, something along those lines. I probably
Right.
butchered it all, but
Now,
yeah. And then my coach is saying the next thing we'll do is I'll be hitting rolled up socks. So not even foam golf balls. He's talking,
okay.
big, target, which is interesting. I mean, my swing, I am exaggerating things so much that
Mm-hmm.
to really make a good change, I have horrible early extension, um,
Which
which
is
leads to
interesting because you don't lack the strength to hold your body in posture.
no, I don't lack the strength or mobility to do almost anything, and
Right.
that's what I've told my coach, and
Right.
I told him, don't hold back, tell me what I need to do, and I will figure it out. There should be nothing my body's not capable of doing. Um, my wrists are a little wonky, but
Mm.
besides what, but that that's just going to affect the
Yeah.
club face. But as far as the turn and everything else, I can do it.
Right.
So, which I think is a great segue into some stuff about you. Your big thing I think we've had recently was you had some injuries. You had surgery.
It did.
You were in a
Couple of them.
boot. Yeah. So tell us about what it's like to have injuries, and you didn't stop. You didn't just lay up on the couch all day long. You still got work done. So kind of tell me about that.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of big injuries throughout my life. So when I was in sixth grade, I dislocated my hip, a dirt bike accident. Luckily, that causes me no issues. Um, Other than range of motion on a squat, I can go deeper, but we just don't. Uh, just
You go deeper on lunges.
I know. Yeah, lunges are my jam. Anyways, yeah, and then my right ankle because of how I played basketball. I wasn't a great basketball player. I was athletic. I like to jump. I rolled a lot of ankles.
Hmm.
So I sprained my right ankle multiple times through high school, and then the first year. So in 2019, I had an ankle surgery to repair what they thought was one torn ligament, and a couple of bone chips. And they got in there, they found 8 torn ligaments, a bunch of bone chips. There was like an extra muscle or tendon that grew around my Achilles to help support it.
Hmm.
I had a bunch of floating stuff in my ankle. So they cleaned that out and they did really a pretty good job. But the hard part was they didn't know everything they were going in for when they went in. And so it wasn't the best result. So then in, what would have that been? 2022? Yeah, 2022 in December, I had another surgery on that ankle to go in, clean it out, and fix everything properly. And it's been great to this day. So super thankful to have done that. But with injuries, it's hard, right? When I'm sitting at home in a boot, I just know there's other people out there practicing and getting better, and um, so it's hard to go through that. But at the same time, I look at that and I say, okay, instead of just sitting here, what can I do to make the best out of this situation? So let's read some books, right? Whether it's golf books or, I'm a husband and father, right? Or parenting books, stuff like
Hmm.
that. Yeah. So how can I continue to improve myself through this situation with that aspect? And then in the gym, I, looked at it again and I said, well, I've got a boot on my right ankle, but I've got my left leg and I've got both my hands still. So, how can I work out and just not use my right foot? So, a lot of
And you
upper
did.
body stuff, and yeah, we did.
Didn't you had one leg get pretty big compared to the other one, right? You had
Well, the left leg, my legs have always been pretty substantial in size
yeah.
since like junior year of high school. Um, Yeah, so the right leg still, I don't think it'll ever be the same size as my left. My thighs are getting close, but especially in the calf region. The first surgery they did, my calf was so tight, and I wish they wouldn't have done this. I wish they would have just told me to stretch it more. But they actually cut my calf where it meets the Achilles and lengthened it.
Mm.
So my calf shape is completely different on my right and my left side. And if I could change one thing, I would have changed the fact that they did that.
What's the function of it though? Is it better, or
It's the same.
does it just look funny, or
It just looks different. Yeah, like the muscles farther up by my knee versus big all the way down. It's strange. Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, I don't
But it did help the flexibility of your ankle and the calf, or it's
yeah,
about the
I
same.
mean, it's the same as my left now, but I started stretching my left one when they told me my right one was too tight. So, I think had they just said, "Hey, you're going to really need to work on your, calf muscle flexibility after surgery," I think I would have been able to get it.
Yeah,
The
I mean
same.
you're dedicated. That to stretch a muscle, especially like a calf, it's a lot of stretching. Um,
Yeah.
I had to go get dry needling on my calves
Mm,
because I had plantar fasciitis in my foot, and it was because of a few things. But one is really tight calves, and
mm,
dry needling is where they have you ever had dry needling?
mm. Have not done that.
It's almost like acupuncture, but it's more intense.
Ooh.
And they certain practitioners do it differently. But the one I had, she got in there and she would take this needle and then she'd dig around until your muscle essentially spasmed.
Oof.
And then that was she like, okay, got it. And it would be, and I the next it would be really sore for about 24 hours, but you would notice a drastic difference. And
Wow.
after I got a few months of treatment of that, my plantar fasciitis went away. So
Wow.
if you ever want to check out, if you still have tight calves, or if anybody listening, dry needling is not fun. It hurts, but it works.
Wow.
um, so yeah, I might
Crazy.
need to, and I got an elbow injury right now, and one thing I might go look into is some dry needling around
Mm,
my tendons that are really fired up and pissed
yeah.
off. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's one thing I love is even though you had an injury, and this is what I tell people all the time, just because your ankle is injured, right? You still have all these other body parts, and if you wanted to get super creative, right, after you kind of get the big boot off, you could still probably work your quad. You could wrap a band around your ankle and do some
Mhm.
or around your shin, not around your injured ankle, but you could do
Yeah.
some extensions. You could do some hamstring curls. You could still get some things done. that don't involve using the ankle, just everything else. So when people say, "Hey, I injured this, what should I do?" I'm like, "Well, what? You have a lot of other body parts that are still in good shape. Let's use those."
Yeah,
Well,
right.
won't it lag behind? Of course it will. It's going to lag behind no matter what because it's injured. You're compensating no matter what you're doing. It's going to lag
Right.
behind, but it'll catch back up. Maybe not fully for a while, but you know,
But it'll get there. And even if it does lag behind, I'd rather have the rest of my body continue to get better instead of sit and get weaker. So,
yeah, that's the worst thing you could do.
yeah,
So, tell us about how the workouts. And I'm not asking you to like plug Lift Heavy Swing Fast or plug the program that I
I'm
that
good.
I
I'll do it anyways.
I appreciate it. But just kind of tell me what you've noticed from getting into the gym. I mean, what did you use? I can't, again, I kind of remember what you said you used to do. We've been working together for a couple of years now, so
Yeah.
I know what you've been doing for a while. But what did you do before you started training with me? What do we do now, and how has it helped your game?
Yeah. So before I started working with you, I did a lot of body weight stuff, push ups, pull ups. Couldn't do plyometrics anymore because the ankle and stuff. But up until the ankle injuries, a lot of plyometrics. Um, yeah. And then so when we started working together, for just a reference, I was 178 pounds at 5'11", which wasn't bad. Fast forward a year and a half, almost 2 years now. Uh, I am 197 pounds, and I've only picked up maybe I think it's like 1.5 or 2% body fat. So picked up a lot of muscle in the last few years, which has been
Jacked.
awesome. Yeah. What I have noticed is that I generate more speed. When I started working with you, we were at 116 club head speed. I'm currently at 122 to 125, depending on the day and how much you fry my central nervous system.
Yeah.
Uh, so, and my swing is so much better. Like my body is moving the club. I used to be like John Daly length with my driver swing, took it way past parallel and flung it as hard as I could. And now I swing it like at parallel with driver and generate more club head speed, more consistency. And um, I would say the other thing is like I don't get worn down. Like there's days obviously when I'm tired and like but like when I travel, my body is never like I need to be done. I'm tired. It's more just like we are just in general fatigued, right? So let's
Hmm.
go home and take a reset. But there hasn't been since we started working together where I'm like, oh, my back hurts or my knees hurt or anything like that. So that's been probably the biggest thing is the training in the gym makes it so I can train as hard as I want on the course and not worry about injury.
I love it. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And we do total body workouts. You don't do upper body, lower body splits. I think we've thrown
Mm-mm.
some stuff in like that every once in like maybe once before just for fun in the off season. But
Mm-hmm.
it's total body. And how many times a week do you generally work out? I think people are gonna be
Yeah.
shocked
So
to hear this.
I do your workouts 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday,
3
Friday,
days a week.
3 days a week. And then just recently, like within the last 2 months, I started working with some people from TPI about just mobility specifically for me. So Cody's programming, just for a you know reference. I moved exceptionally well when I did my assessment. Had I not been playing professionally, my assessment would have been what they would call almost perfect, really good. Since I'm
Hmm.
playing professionally, I had like minor ankle mobility issues, which was caused from my injuries, and I have some minor hip limitations caused from my injuries. So, um, they prescribed me some stuff for that. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I have a mobility routine that I run through. So I'm working out and getting a sweat in Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, I'm just maintaining mobility and stuff. And um, I think you put up a post the other day that said mobility should make you sore. And
Hmm.
it's true. It's true. If it doesn't make you sore, you're not training the mobility and range of motion and learning how to move through it. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah. So yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If you work, and that was what I did for up until 2 months ago. Monday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Friday.
And we've even experimented with stuff before where I've had you do kind of a split workout day, which I'm thinking about doing again if we have the
Hmm.
time. It's
Yep.
really nice for you since you work out at home. So I've had you do your explosive power work in the morning, a strength piece or two, maybe. Go
Hmm.
play, go practice, and then we hit you with some accessory work after practice. And that I think was a fun way to train. So like
Yeah.
mixing it up, but I think one of the takeaways I wanted to take to tell people there is that you are an elite athlete, a professional golfer that tours, plays,
Hmm.
you travel, play multi-day tournaments, and you get success working out 3 days a week. Some people think they need to work out 5, 6 days a week. And
Hmm.
I have to constantly pull people back and say, hey, if you truly want performance, if this is a performance based program and you want an outcome, the outcome is not how hard the workout is necessarily. It is
Hmm.
about the results we get from the workout. And if you just overdo it, and if you just have a thought in your mind that I need this crazy hard CrossFit workout, then all you care about is the workout. We
Hmm.
care about the result that comes from the training versus working out is what we're looking at here.
Yeah,
Um,
big time. And I did a
and
lot of
yet,
circuit training before, excuse me, where it's like, you go in, you get your heart rate up and train hard, you leave. It's like, oh, I had a great workout. But I also worked out like that since I was a junior in high school. So that'd be 5-ish, 6 years, something like that. And I
yeah,
weighed 178 pounds as a junior in high school, and I was 178 pounds when we started working together. So
yeah.
didn't get any benefits from it really. I mean, I maintained what I
You also
had.
eat good food.
I do. Yeah, my wife is a
You eat
good
good
cook.
food.
That's a
So
big deal.
you're the type of client or athlete that is actually harder to work with than your general population person. And I'll tell you why, and it's a good thing. It's a because you are already at a very high level.
Mm,
And so it's a challenge for a coach to push you to that next level. Whereas like most people, they're deconditioned, they haven't worked out in a while. They're actually pretty easy to work with. They
mm,
need pretty much all need the exact same thing. Um, but I was talking to someone the other day, and it was a business call on it, and this is also related to athletics too. You as a golfer right now, you are
hmm.
probably better than what 99% of the people in the world. 99.9 actually,
Yeah,
besides
probably
the people that
something
are out
like
there
that.
on the PGA tour.
Yeah,
So like,
other than the people that are better than me, I'm better than everyone else.
yeah, exactly, which is very very small percentage of people that are have your handicap, and they're out there. These are the guys we just watched on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
and to go from say the 99th percent to the 99.9 is like 100 times more work than it took to go from 95 to 99, and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
So it's just a really fun thing to watch, for me, because I know you're going to get there.
Thanks.
So let's talk about that, and we'll kind of start bringing this to an end here, our conversation.
Yeah.
Kind of what is your plan? Where are we going? What are the goals? What are the dreams? Um, Tell
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So I've got some goals that I kind of like to keep those private to myself. But
I like it.
honestly, the goal is to play on the PGA Tour or whatever tour has the best opportunity, right?
Hmm.
So one of my goals is dependent on world ranking, and it's not what most people would think when you think of world ranking. World number one. That's actually not why I care about the world ranking.
Hmm.
So one of my goals is since my dad wrestled in the Olympics, I would like to compete in the Olympics. So, in order for that to happen, you have to be ranked inside the top 4 in your country on the official World Golf Rankings. So, dependent on if Live begins to get, World Golf Rankings or, the tours are in a different spot. So, one of my goals is big time dependent on world ranking. So, so my goal is to play on whatever that best tour is. Aside from that, a bunch of it's more. It looks like a ladder, right? So up at the top is main goal. This is what I want to do, and then there's little rungs below that, right? So I can
Hmm.
climb a ladder instead of feeling like I have to just jump up a 12-foot ladder and hope I catch something.
I like that.
Um, yeah. So right now, the most tangible goal and the closest one is there's PGA Tour America's Q School in end of May. And that's like that right now is priority one in terms of goals is to get status on PGA Tour Americas and earn points enough to get exempt into a later stage of Q school instead of having to pre-qualify and go to first stage and second stage and then final stage.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm going right now with performance and process. Is I've got my big event is in 2 months. I'll treat that like it's my major because that's as big of an event as I'll get to play all year up until I get through that. So that's uh, kind of the goal, right? So gonna play to peak end of May. But prior to that, I leave in about 10 days to go to California, play a mini tour event out there, and I'll come home, probably play one or two events on All Pro Tour in April, and then U.S. Open qualifying in May, and Q School in May as well.
Awesome. Do you like the
Yeah,
travel? Do you enjoy traveling around?
I don't like being away from my family, my
Okay.
wife and son. Don't love that aspect of it. We're gonna try to travel, have them come with a little bit this year, so that'll be better. But in general, yeah, I do. I think it's fun seeing other parts of the country. Um, Probably my biggest dislike with travel though is like if I'm driving 8 hours, that's 8 hours I can't practice.
Right.
So that's one thing for me. And it's hard because I can't really treat my travel day as a rest and recovery day because there's nothing recovery about sitting in a car.
No, you don't just drive like and halfway there you see a roadside driving range and you pull over and get out and
No, I don't do that, but when I do get gas, I do a lot of like the shoulder separation and lower body separation and all that stuff just to try to stay loose. But
get
I
some
do like to
mobility in there.
travel. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
seeing other places. I don't like being away from my wife and son.
Yeah. You're a doting father. What is your son's name, if you want to say it
At,
on
yeah, yeah, his name's Atlas.
yeah, he's a cutie, man.
Yeah, he's a good little guy.
Is he already
Yeah,
swinging a
he's
club yet?
he does it with one hand and more does like a karate chop type of deal with it, but he does hit the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he likes it. The other day, I came home and he wanted to do some putting, so we brought up one of the putting mats that I can move upstairs, and we putted upstairs in the living room while mom was cooking dinner. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Have to
yep,
get him
he
on
loves.
Operation 36 one day.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. He loves all things. He actually really likes kicking a soccer ball right now, so that's been
Okay.
fun. Yeah,
I
yep.
mean, I tell people like, they're, when they have, I mean, your kid's very young, but when they get to 4, 5, 6, people are like, what should my kids start doing? And I'm just like, man, just get them to run fast, jump around, throw some stuff around. Like if you really want them to care about, if they want to, if it's in the realm of developing for sports later in life, have them run fast, throw some stuff around, make it fun, obviously, but get them to move explosively.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the biggest thing. It's just like moving fast.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Play
kids like that.
kickball.
Yeah, make them
Yeah.
sprint as fast as they can. Like how fast can if you really want them, like throw this ball really hard, do this, swing this club, like do it explosively. Like let's do it with some purpose. Like that's going to be what carries them over and gets their brains firing.
Oh yeah. Big time.
All right, so we're
Big
reaching
time.
the end here. I do want you to talk a little bit about your some of you're a partner, not necessarily a partner, right? But you're like kind of collaborating with
Yeah.
this brand you're wearing. Any plugs you got about some stuff you use? If
Yeah.
whatever partnerships you have, I'd love to hear about those.
Yeah. So the clothing brand it's Elite Identity. They started last year, and I signed a contract with them, so I'm a sponsored player. Um, but yeah, they have. So I'm extremely picky about what I wear, in terms of how the fabric feels, how it moves, and how it fits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like the sleeves to not be down to my elbows
Yeah.
and not too loose, but not too tight. So that it's
Right.
finicky, right? If they get too loose, I'll just lift more weights and we'll figure that
Yeah.
out.
The clothes I wear right now, they got the sleeves right up a little bit, which I actually like.
Yeah,
So
right. No, yeah. See, and I'd rather have them up higher than down lower. I can't stand things halfway down my elbow.
it's
It's
an it's
bad.
an intimidation factor, right? Like we step up, like your arms are jacked. Like I like it.
Yeah,
I want
right.
I like people noticing.
Yeah. Yeah, so Elite Identity, they've been great. They've got more products coming out. They get better every single time. So there's a new drop coming in, I think Friday. New stuff's going to be on their website. Um, and I have a discount code. I honestly don't remember what it is. I think it's like Sterling 15 or Sterling 20.
You can share with me later. I'll put it in our show
Yeah,
notes,
okay, okay, that sounds good.
and I'll attach a
Um,
link so if people want to check it out, they can do
yeah,
that.
yeah, that'd be great. So yeah, I got the clothing's great, and then uh,
Which the
yeah, a
clothing,
couple
sorry to interrupt, the clothing is huge for us guys that lift weights. It is
big time.
hard to find golf clothes that fit. We've shared many DMs about pants and this and that over
Oh,
the years, getting these thighs, getting the glutes into pants that fit, that don't make you look ridiculous, because I hate it when they're so tight that,
oh, I know.
one, they're uncomfortable, and two, I don't want to look like that. I'm not trying to have skin tight pants. Like, sorry, I don't,
No, me
that's
either.
not the look
Like
we want.
there was a pair of pants I put on, and I mean they're tighter than like my wife's workout pants. It just is not a
Right.
look that should be. And I know, like we don't have legs that are like the majority of the population, but I mean, I put a post on my story the other day of Tiger swinging in like the big parachute pants, and I was like,
Yeah.
anybody else wish these were still a thing? I mean, maybe not to that extent, but some loose fitting pants would be great. And Elite Identity doesn't make pants, so not
Okay.
yet at least. If they get
Yeah.
into the
So
design of that, I will hopefully have some
yeah.
input into how they fit.
So I started wearing State and Liberty. That's what I wear. Because yeah, I just could not find like Nike's pants were, yeah,
Mm.
like your wife's workout pants.
Mm-hmm.
Fitting a ball marker and tees in there, and then a ball, and God forbid, if I want to put my cell phone in there, like that just
Yeah,
wasn't
right.
happening.
No, no, and it's unfortunate too, but yeah. And then it's hard because it's like there's that fine line of what fits well and what is like way too baggy.
Yeah.
Because unless they're like the ones from Tiger in the '90s, they were designed to fit baggy like that, and
Hmm.
I actually think they look pretty cool. But if I just go buy a pair of pants that are baggy, it's like the waist is way too big, and it's just not a great look. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's clothing's hard.
I mean,
But yeah,
what is Jason Day wearing nowadays? Malbon.
Malbon. Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually like some of those pants.
Yeah. Their stuff is we went to their store in New York City over the summer.
Mm.
Their stuff is different, and it's also very expensive. So
Yeah, so I saw his pants and I was like, "Oh heck yeah, I'm gonna go order some new pants." And I was like, "I'm not gonna spend that much money on a pair of
what were they, like,
pants."
300 or 400 bucks? I don't know.
Yeah,
They're not cheap.
I think they're at like 200 right now because
Yeah.
yeah. Either way, way too much for a pair of pants, I think.
Right.
Um,
That I'm gonna wear and possibly get dirty, and it's not.
oh,
I'm gonna.
100% get
I could be
dirty.
a
It's not
muddy, rainy,
possibly.
yeah, muddy, rainy day on the course, and I'm trenching through, you know, whatever to in these $300 pants. So
Yeah. Yeah, so I've got Elite Identity. They've been great in terms of support with clothing, which is amazing. Super happy to
mhm.
be on staff with them. Um, and then there's a local chiropractor. He adjusts me, Total Health Chiropractic, Dr. Dylan Haim. So if you're in Iowa City, if you have any listeners from the Iowa City Coralville area, um, he does a great job. Can't recommend him enough.
Awesome. Were you doing
Yeah,
lessons at some point?
I am. Yeah, so I do a little bit of teaching. Yeah,
Yeah. Do you have any
yep, teach a little
spots that you
bit.
want to plug on here, or people want to email you or anything, or however they want to reach out?
Yeah, you can reach out to me, DM me on
Social media.
Instagram. Social media is great for that. A lot of the times I'll teach upstairs in my parents' barn. I think it's easiest to make swing changes in a controlled environment.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll probably do some teaching this summer. I try not to get affiliated with any golf course just because uh, it's easier not to.
We don't need
Um,
anyone in your pockets either.
exactly. You get it. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
I
I'm
get it,
happy.
man. I've had people in my pockets many, many times in this business. So
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, happy to do some lessons, and um, it's good for me too. The more I teach, the more I learn.
awesome. And if people want to follow your journey, where should they look you up at?
Yeah, so it's on Instagram, at Sterling McIlravy. Pretty simple, nothing crazy creative. Yeah, and my posts are pretty simple. I share a little bit about practice, kind of show how I work out with Cody, and give tournament updates here and there. But yeah, it's pretty low key. my goal is to be one of the best players in the world, not a content creator. So you get what you know. I don't go crazy. I don't put out stuff that that's not my job. Is not to make creative content. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get as good as I can be. So I try to keep my phone away as much as possible in practice.
Good for you. I think
Yeah.
when you and I met, I think I hadn't really been doing the social media thing, and now here we are. So
Yeah. Right.
it's been a ride.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much, man, for coming on. I truly appreciate it, and we'll keep working together, and I'm excited to see where you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. It's been great talking with you.